Alright, gather round, folks, and let Uncle 3 spin you a yarn tonight, because this one's a doozy. We're heading to Penang, Malaysia, to an apartment complex known simply as 72 Condominium. Now, Uncle 3 only knows about this place because of a little urban legend attached to it. You know how it is. Every town, every country seems to have its own creepy tale. Sometimes even about something as mundane as a phone booth with terrifying curse. Well, this condominium is no different. Honestly, if I hadn't gone looking for ghost stories, I never would have guessed such wild things could happen in a place so few people know about. This building, believe it or not, was considered quite modern back when it was built in the 1990s. In fact, by 1993, it was a symbol of luxury and high-class living in Penang. Today, it's pretty run down, but people still live there. After 93, it mostly became home to Chinese and Indian families, with not many Malays. It's a 3-story building with Indian residents on the first floor and Chinese families on the second and third. And here's the kicker. It hasn't been renovated or upgraded since 1993. Why, you ask, would such an old, neglected building stand amidst a bustling city like Penang? Well, it's all because of a truly chilling ghost story that only the earliest residents remember. Fast forward to 2010. A Chinese family moved in, including an old gentleman named Mr. Pao. Mr. Pao made buns for a living, working at a small shop and selling them to the locals, including those in the 72 condominium. It was definitely a place for working-class folks, not the wealthy. So, he'd bring home about 5 to 10 buns to sell, just to make a little extra cash. One day, Mr. Pao came home and told his wife something that stuck with him. He said, "I saw a child, completely naked, just wandering the ground floor hallway of our building." He described the child as very cute, but he had no idea whose child it was or where it came from. His wife, probably thinking nothing of it, just said, "Oh, it's probably just some neighbor's kid. Don't worry about it too much." Mr. Pao, perhaps because he and his wife didn't have children of their own, really liked kids. He saw that child many times after that. He'd even tried to talk to it. Then one fateful day, he went to a nearby park with the child to play. Suddenly, the child said it wanted to feed Mr. Pao a bun and told him to open his mouth. When Mr. Pao did, the child reached in, grabbed his tongue, and ripped it out entirely, root and all. Mr. Pao screamed, blood gushing from his mouth, and he ran back to the 72 condominium, unable to speak. The sight of him, covered in blood, was absolutely horrifying. Residents quickly called the police for help, as he was losing so much blood and had become mute. Mr. Pao was rushed to the emergency room and eventually recovered after a month. But that terrible injury left him permanently unable to speak. After he'd recovered enough, he used paper and a pen to write down the horrific events of that day. But here's the thing. Not a single person believed him. The police couldn't find his tongue or its root, nor could they find any trace of the child he described in the condominium. It was as if, at that time, he was the only one who had ever seen that naked child. The story was just too outlandish. When Mr. Pao led them to the spot where the child supposedly pulled out his tongue, there was no blood, no signs of a struggle whatsoever. Plus, who could believe a child so young would have the strength to do something like that? Even the hospital confirmed that Mr. Pao's tongue wasn't cut by a knife or any sharp object. It had been torn off with immense force. Yet, no one, could offer a logical explanation for how Mr. Pao lost his tongue. Many at the time simply thought that because he was an older man, he must have been a bit senile and perhaps had some kind of accident. Most residents didn't buy his story, but Mr. Pao remained adamant. The child was the one who pulled out his tongue. Overwhelmed by the trauma, his family moved to another part of Penang, away from the dreaded 72 condominium. Following such a serious incident, the building management installed cameras throughout every nook and cranny of the 72 condominium. Security guards were assigned to monitor the camera feeds day and night. They watched for months, but the naked child was nowhere to be seen. Then, 6 months after Mr. Pao's ordeal, the child actually appeared. It was 4 a.m. when the security guards saw a strange child on the 3rd floor of the building. They immediately recognized it from Mr. Pao's description. How could they be so sure? Well, for starters, no child in the condominium would be running around naked. And second, at 4 a.m., what child would be out in the hallway, let alone playing soccer? The guards on duty felt a chill run down their spines. Could this be the child? They whispered to each other. One of them, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Come on, man, this is too much. It's just some kid whose parents let him run around naked. There's no way a naked ghost kid ripped out an old man's tongue. That guy probably just had an accident somewhere." So, the 2 guards kept watching the camera feed. Now, these weren't fancy HD cameras back then. It was blurry, black and white footage. They watched closely to see if the child was doing anything strange or dangerous. For a solid 15 minutes, it just kept kicking a soccer ball against the wall, making a racket. They sighed in relief, convinced it was just a normal kid, and they were letting their imaginations run wild. But in that brief moment of complacency, the younger guard took a closer look at the ball. Until now, they'd been so focused on the child, and the cameras were so blurry. They hadn't paid much attention. But as he peered at it, he realized the ball wasn't normal. It wasn't a leather or plastic soccer ball like the kids in Malaysia usually played with. No, this ball seemed to have strands. Something like black straw stuck to it. Both guards then scrutinized the image, and that's when they saw it. It wasn't a ball at all. It was a human head. The child was kicking a severed head down the hallway. Panic set in. Around 4 a.m., they once again called the police. Of course, by the time the police arrived, the naked child was long gone. But here's the truly chilling part. The spot on camera where the child had been kicking the head against the wall. It was Mr. Pao's old apartment. The police immediately felt something was terribly wrong. They tried to contact Mr. Pao, who had moved but couldn't reach him. They eventually tracked down Mr. Pao's and his wife's new addresses. When they arrived, Mr. Pao wasn't home. His wife told them he'd left the previous evening to sell buns and hadn't returned, which was completely out of character for him. He'd never stayed out all night without contacting her. She had even called to report him missing, but the police told her that a person isn't officially considered missing until after 24 or 48 hours. Realizing the extreme gravity of the situation, the police launched a search around the condominium. They knocked on nearly every door and thoroughly searched the neighboring buildings. By the next morning, they found it. Mr. Pao's head, severed, lying in a ditch near the condominium. This horrifying event rocked the entire Penang area in 2010. and even led to changes in the structure of the 72 condominium. Many people believed the building had been constructed with terrible feng shui. When it was first built, it had 4 towers, forming a perfect square, divided into sections A, B, C, and D. A road connected all 4 buildings in the middle, and whether by accident or design, this road formed the shape of a swastika, a symbol, the manji, in Buddhist culture. Residents suspected that this architectural design had unknowingly created a gateway for ghosts and demons. Today, the building still stands, but the pathways beneath the condominium have been destroyed or sealed off. The police, in their investigation, actually determined that Mr. Pau's head wasn't cut off by a blade. Instead, it appeared to have been bitten off by small teeth. This made the case even more gruesome, and to this day, it remains unsolved, one of Penang's greatest mysteries. And the people who still live in the 72 condominium, both Indian and Chinese, live in constant fear. So what do you think about the naked ghost child who pulled out Mr. Pau's tongue and then later severed his head? It's a heavy-duty horror story for sure.